All right, thanks for everyone for showing up. I'm Tony Marino with Guild Mortgage, and today Glenn Marino will be going over the real estate market, NAR settlement agreement, um, buyer's agent guide, why use me and pay me, new income and purchase price limits for the IDA program, um, Fannie Mae buyer incentive programs, Freddie Mac incentive and programs, uh, Guild Mortgage buyer incentive programs, and then at the end we'll go over some free marketing tools to grow your business, HomeBot, and Listing Booster. So, Glenn, if you're ready to go.
I am ready to go. I've shared my screen, so let me get this into a bigger format here. We'll start from the beginning. And again, if anybody has a question as we go through this, you can feel free to unmute yourself. But I would ask that everybody put themselves on mute to start so that phones, children, office noise does not interrupt the rest of us. So appreciate you all being on mute at this point in time. Well, welcome everyone to another exciting class. The NAR settlement has changed the rules for those who are buyers agents, and we thought this might be a really great presentation. We got some ideas as to how you can set yourself out as a unique, not so much as a buyer's agent, but now more so as a buyer's advisor, a real estate advisor. Real estate is an investment, so you're becoming more of an investment advisor. So let's first begin by what's happening in the real estate market. Right now in June of 24, home prices in Illinois were up 8.4% compared to last year. On average, the number of homes sold was down 15.4% over a year ago, in which 12,981 homes sold in June, down from 15,346 the year before. So let's just unpack that for a quick second. What it's basically saying is prices are still going up, yet volume is down compared from a year ago. And yet, as we look at the forecast for interest rates, it's likely that the volume of homes that are being bought and sold is going to be going up as interest rates start to come down. The market will move toward a more balanced housing market in the second half of the year, but prospective home buyers will still face competition. I mean, they're going to face competition from other buyers that have been sitting on the sideline, now wanting to get into the marketplace when rates are above 7%. Now that rates are starting to come down into the low sixes, and most likely will get closer to 6% by the end of the year, they will face fierce competition from other buyers coming into the market. Though affordability obstacles persist, for buyers, other indicators suggest that the market is tilting toward buyers. On Friday, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell said that it's time to start cutting interest rates. The question is, by how much, how quickly will the Fed policymakers make this act? Powell said inflation is low enough at this point, and that the bigger threat to the economy is now a weakening jobs market. So what he wants to do is he doesn't want to, it's a balancing act. He doesn't want to bring the rates down too fast. You're not going to see, in my opinion, half a point movements by the Fed in lowering rates. They're going to do it slowly, systematically, quarter at a time. And again, even if they did it at a half, it's basically going to say that their policies weren't working. They're not going to do that. And at the same time, if they lower the rates too much and it spurs the economy too fast, you're going to see inflation rear its head worse than what it already is. So again, I see quarter point movements, and you might see 2 to maximum 3 movements before the end of the year. So as of Sunday, August 18th, current interest rates in Illinois are about 6.64 for a 30-year. Tony just mentioned they're down to like 6.4% as of today and 6.2% on a 15-year. So again, before your clients buy, Let them know their options, compare their mortgage offers so they can find the best deal. So how's the NAR settlement affected you as realtors? Well, under the new rules, commissions for buyers agents can't be listed on the MLS. Meanwhile, buyers would need their own agreement that specifies compensation before they work with an agent. Sellers could still cover the cost of the buyer's agent commission, but we'll get into that shortly. Overall, the new rules are expected to make commissions more transparent and competitive in the real estate industry. The rule changes could also prompt agents to offer non-traditional pricing for their services. More agents could offer a flat fee, an hourly charge, or an a la carte pricing instead of just taking a percentage, say a 2.5% commission, as was more customary in the past. Buyer agents could also charge for individual services like home tours, negotiation, and help with paperwork instead of charging a flat percentage. So what makes you unique? Again, you can't be, I mean, I believe that buyers are going to do a little more shopping than they have in the past. And what you're trying to do, you're trying to get them to stop the shopping. You want them to look at you as being an expert, somebody that's got some great resources to help them as a home buyer. So you're going to have to become a green fish in the goldfish bowl. You're going to have to be unique. So why would a buyer use you? What value do you add to their buying experience? Well, let's look at a buyer's agent guide for some guidance. Well, this is the time to set yourself apart. The major shift within our settlement will be the fact that you'll have to be upfront and have transparent conversations with buyers about your commission. This guide will help you negotiate those conversations. It's time to shift your approach from being just a buyer's agent, a great buyer's agent, to becoming a great real estate advisor. Not only being an expert in finding a perfect home and negotiating a good deal, but you're also going to have to help your buyers build wealth faster and achieve financial freedom. What you have to do is develop a process, develop a presentation. You can't just verbally tell someone, you need to sign a buyer's agreement for me to go out and show you homes. You're going to have to be that unique person that demonstrates your resources. So the timeline of working with a buyer is you're going to have to go through a needs analysis. You're then going to have to explain the buying process. And by that, I mean, there are at least 10, 12 different strategies that you can demonstrate. And we're going to go through those shortly in this presentation, that you can go through and show them your expertise of the different strategies that they can employ when making an offer to purchase. That's going to make them a winner. We just said that it's going to become more competitive for them. As interest rates come down, it's going to become more competitive. What you want them to do is think that, God, I don't want to walk away from Ronaldo Ruiz or Melinda. I want to make sure that I stay with them because they're showing me all these great strategies and I need their expertise. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a reality check and take a look at, what is it that we can do to put this whole thing together. So here's your first step. Remember we talked about, let's do a buyer's needs analysis. The initial conversation establishes trust and credibility. You're setting the tone to set yourself up as an expert advisor. Again, to me, a picture's worth 1,000 words. A written document is worth 1,000 words. You can talk all day long and gather information from them verbally. But when you sit down with them with a buyer's needs analysis, and this when I say sit down, it could be a Zoom meeting. It could be that you email the document to them and you talk to them over the phone, but you're putting something tangible into their hands and letting them know I'm for you. I want to understand, why are you buying? What's the time frame? What's the desired location? Where will you be commuting from? What type of home are you looking for? How many bedrooms and bathrooms? Are you in a current lease? What's your desired monthly payment? What's your desired price range, if they have one in mind? What's your annual income, gross? What's your total savings? What do you have in 401k? What's your down payment that you have set aside? And then what do you have as far as debts? What do you have for student loans, credit cards, child support, alimony, cars, boats, trains, and automobiles? And have you been pre-approved yet? And if so, who's your lender? And what's important to you in an agent? What are you looking for from me? What is it that you expect from me? And is there anything else that's important to you that we haven't discussed yet? And what I'm saying here is create your own version. I have this already in a Word document, and I'm going to send it out to all of you that have participated here today. But again, change it up, add, subtract, whatever you feel is necessary, but create your own version and go through this first before discussing your compensation. Next, develop a buyer process presentation. Answer, why should I use you? Be intentional about demonstrating your unique value, and I'm going to show you the steps that you should employ. Include your preferred lender in there. Make sure they understand you have a team, that it's not just you alone, that your team is going to help get them to the finish line. Ensure their financial readiness. Again, that's part of your team. That's part of what Tony can do for you and with you, is to make sure that they're financially ready. Financially ready could be the very first step. Credit report. Do they need credit repair? Do they need some help or assistance in even improving the credit? Maybe they have a credit score that's good enough to get them into a home, but maybe they would like their credit analyzed by a member of your team, because if they get a higher score, they get a lower interest rate. So set your buyers up to win. So step 2 is building that confidence in you as a real estate advisor. Show your client winning strategies to win, to seal the deal. They know that there's going to be competition. You're going to let them know there's competition. After knowing your client's needs, discuss your strategies for them to win the deal. Again, one of your strategies could be offer over asking price. That can help to incentivize the seller to pay the agent's fee. Again, after the buyer or the seller have agreed to a purchase price, maybe they don't want to go in initially offering over asking price under strategy number 1. But let's say that they come to an agreement that they're willing to pay $300,000 for a home, but the seller's not necessarily willing to pay an agent's fee. Well, you could go back in, and before you ink the buyer's offer to the seller, gross up the purchase price to cover the seller paying the buyer's agent fee. And again, this will totally depend on whether or not you as agents feel that the appraisal will cover the increase in the purchase price. Another strategy, offer a fast closing. Let them know that if we can put into the offer that you can close within 16 to 20 calendar days, that might set your offer apart from somebody who's saying, well, I'll close in 45 days. And again, how do you do that? With Tony, he can not only get your clients pre-approved, but they get them what's called pre-underwritten pre-approvals, meaning that it goes through underwriting except for an appraisal. Because again, we don't know which property they're going to ultimately buy, but everything else has been pre-underwritten. So now the time frame for them to go through underwriting is much smaller. 16 to 20 calendar days, they're at the closing table. Again, how about another strategy? Offer a large earnest money deposit. Okay. Again, the seller will look upon those who have more to lose as being a better offer. If all of a sudden, instead of $2,000, $5,000, $10,000 is offered as earnest money, they might enjoy that as being a good strategy. Waive inspections. I don't encourage that, but it is an option. Waiving home inspection, waiving radon inspection, waiving roof inspection. I mean, could they do that? Absolutely. They're going to have to feel very comfortable or be knowledgeable, meaning if maybe they're a subcontractor, maybe there's someone that's very handy. They've gone through the house and they feel comfortable with it, and they feel like they can waive some of the inspections. Appraisal gap is also another strategy, or waiving it. Appraisal gap would be where in the offer to the seller, you put in there that in the event that the appraisal comes in lower than that $300,000 offer, it comes in at $290,000, that the buyer is willing to stay in the contract. It is not subject to the appraisal coming in at least at purchase price. Or they can waive the appraisal altogether as a strategy. Again, going back to when they get pre-underwritten, if when Tony runs them through Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac's underwriting system, sometimes they come back with the appraisal is not necessary. The appraisal is waived. Well, that would be a great piece of knowledge that then you can make an offer for your client that waives the need for an appraisal, or that the offer is subject to an appraisal coming in at purchase price. Again, another strategy is escalation clause, offering a higher price. It's preset, it's in the offer, that in the event they get another competitive offer that's higher than your client, then your client is saying, I'm willing to go to a higher price, and it's preset at a maximum. Some additional strategies are offering a free lease back to the sellers. Maybe they would like a quick closing, but they can't get out within 16 to 20 calendar days. Maybe maybe it would be beneficial to them if they could stay for 30 days, if they could stay for 45 days. Offer them to lease back the house from your client at a cost of no rent per day. You could do a larger down payment. I just had a client who put down 60%. Well, that offer was way stronger than these others who are coming in with only 5% down. So they were offering a larger down payment. Contribute to the seller's closing costs. Again, another strategy, not customarily done, but I mean, if you want to grab the seller's attention, instead of going over asking price, you could offer asking price, and then you could offer to pay some portion, some dollar amount, some fixed amount of the seller's closing costs. You could make an offer with no contingencies, again, with no appraisal, with no need for a financing contingency. These are done, and you could make that one of your strategies to improve your buyer's offer. You could also ask your client, would you like up to $10,000 for down payment and closing costs? Again, I think you're going to grab their attention in helping to employ some of these strategies. Again, we're going to talk more about how they can get up to $10,000 from IDA. Would you like to see how to buy a home for as little as 1% to 3% of the purchase price? Again, that's going to build their confidence that they're set, that they're able to purchase a home. Would you like to have your credit analyzed and rescored? Analyzed to see if it can't be improved with some minor things that could be either paid off, collections paid off. Tony can give them all sorts of advice, and then he can rescore it for a higher score and get them a better interest rate. Again, these are just some of the strategies. They're not all inclusive. I'm sure you guys have some of your own that you could use to, for someone to decide to work with you. But why don't you put your winning strategies into a handout? And what I'm going to do here is let me just show you what I mean by what it could look like. Here's our friend Ronaldo Ruiz. Winning strategies for clients to win. Check as many as that appeal to you. So again, you as realtors, again, putting something tangible into the hands of your client is going to make them more endearing to you, more, looking upon you as someone that's providing them with resources. You've already given them a written buyer's needs worksheet. Now what you're doing is saying, check in these boxes. Which of these strategies appeals to you? Are you looking to do a larger earnest money deposit? Are you looking to waive any inspections? Give them a free lease back, larger down payment. These are all strategies that you can give to your client and ask them which of these appeals to you. Kind of a great little show and tell piece for you. Going back to our presentation. So after reviewing the needs analysis and reviewing the winning strategies, those that they would like to employ should they make an offer, now it's time to show them that there are new income and purchase limits for getting up to $10,000 in down payment and closing costs. You look like a valuable resource, in my opinion. If all of a sudden someone was talking to me and saying, this is something that's not just for first-time home buyers, it's for existing home buyers, would it make a difference to you if I could get you up to $10,000? And again, I'm going to go through this very quickly on a couple of slides ahead. But I mean, the $7,500, there's three programs, $6,000, $7,500, and $10,000. And we all have to remember that on the $7,500, there is no interest on it, and there's no payment until the client sells the house 10, 15, 20 years down the road. If someone said to me, Glenn, you can have $7,500, you don't have to pay it back until the house that you're intending to buy when you sell it sometime in the future. And you could use that $7,500 then to pay the agent's fee. Well, I might be interested in knowing about that because I've got all my other costs covered with my savings account, but I kind of like the fact that you can give me 7,500. There's no interest and there's no repayment till I sell the house. You got my attention and you look really good in the eyes of this buyer. And again, let's take a look at this. It says that in order to get 6,000, 7,500, 10,000, the income limit is 134,520. I don't know about you guys, but I know a lot of people who make less than 134,520, and you can give them 7,500. You can give them $10,000 that's repayable with principal only. That makes you look pretty doggone good in their eyes. And then again, the purchase price limit, meaning that if you want that 10,000, if you want that 7,500, if you want that 6,000, the most house that they can buy is a $600 and almost $11,000 home. I know a lot of people who are buying less than $611,000 homes, and they make less than $134,000. And if you give them $7,500 with no interest and no repayment, you look fantastic. And if they buy a 2-unit where they're getting some income off of the second unit, they can buy as big as a $754,000 2-unit property. Well, I put in red down below. Do you know a buyer that makes less than 132,520 and wants to purchase a home for less than 610? Actually, I know many, and I'm sure you do too. So why don't you give your buyer a flyer that reminds them of what you've just talked about, that they can qualify for up to $10,000 in a down payment assistance? Why don't you get your picture, your contact, the Ronaldo Ruiz from Home Smart Connect, all of his contact information, co-branded with Tony Marino, and it says up to $10,000 in down payment assistance. So now you've given them 3 pieces. You've given them the buyer's needs profile. You've given them about 10 to 12 strategies they could use when making an offer. And you've now given them a flyer that says you could get up to $10,000 in down payment assistance. And this is not for first-time home buyers only. Again, I think you're starting to build momentum as to why should I talk to another realtor? This person is fantastic. So now that the buyer might want $10,000, show them how to use it. So again, what if you can help them with the missing down payment? Well, it helps an individual overcome financial barrier to home ownership and paying the buyer's agent fee. Financial assistance is typically in down payment assistance and closing cost assistance, and Tony Marino and his team can provide you with access to the IDA program for the 6, the 7,500, and the 10,000. Again, this is probably not real clear, but it is the 6,000, the 7,500, and the 10. Just real quickly, the 6,000 is a forgivable grant. They grant you 6,000. If you stay in the home for 10 years, it's forgiven. So every year, 10 years times 12 months is 120 months, right? So every month, 1/120th is forgiven. Again, if you stay in the house for 10 years, you owe nothing back. 7,500 we talked about, it's a 0 interest loan, no interest, no repayments until you either 30 years or whenever you sell the home. That's crazy good program. And the 10,000 is the same thing as 7,500. It's a 0 interest loan, but it does require repayment of principal only over 10 years, which is 120 payments. When you divide 120 into 10,000, you get $83.33 a month. So I always tell people, what does it cost you to go out to a nice restaurant with your significant other? And they say, well, Glenn, it depends upon the restaurant. It could be $60, $80, $100. I go, well, if you could give up one of those go outs per month and pay $83.33, I can give you $10,000 towards your down payment and your closing costs. People say, sign me up. Where can I find this? So between the 10,000 and 7,500, they're great programs to help realtors get funds into the hands of their buyers who are looking for ways to pay the agent fee. So again, quick information about IDA. It's available to first-time and non-first-time home buyers. You must purchase a 1 or a 2 unit property. You must owner occupy it, and it must be a 30-year rate. You can use a VA loan, an FHA, a USDA, or a conventional. There's only one interest rate that's offered each day by IDA, so it's really a great program. It's not like, oh well, let me see if another lender or if the realtors, the member on the realtors team is giving me the best interest rate. It's the only interest rate for the day. All IDA lenders, and again, gotta remember this: not all lenders are certified IDA lenders. So you got to make sure that you get an IDA certified lender like Tony on your team. The interest rate is the rate for the borrower's first mortgage, the FHA, conventional, VA, or USDA. And you have to remember that the IDA down payment assistance is a second lien on the property. So you got the first mortgage, now you got a second mortgage, with only the $10,000 being a repay program that requires a repayment of $83.33 a month. So the rates today, remember Tony said that they're about 6.4. Well, here's the 7,500. The deferred program is the 7,500. The repayable, the 10,000. If you do a government, which is FHA or VA, they're as low as 6.375. You're starting to get down to where people are starting to say, you know what? I want to go look at a house. I think I can afford a payment at 6.375. And again, remember what we talked about: the income limit of 134,520. The purchase price of 610. You all know people that easily fall under these categories. So how can you structure a home purchase using the 10,000? Well, let's take a look at the cash needed to purchase. This is step 3. This is, again, something I believe you should print and hand out to your client before you talk about your compensation. Show your buyers how little cash is needed at closing. So let's look at the 3 buckets of cash. And again, this might be a little hard to see. It's small, so I'm going to go to a bigger version of it. So let me just move over here to my Excel. Okay, so here we would have your picture and Tony's picture. And so now you got a nice, beautiful co-branded handout. And you're letting them know this is a sample. Again, you don't know what house they're actually going to buy, but here's a $300,000 home. You're going to use 3.5% down of the I'm going to call it the incentive programs, the down payment incentive programs. You're going to use the $10,000. The closing costs are typically $5,500. IDA charges 1% of the loan amount, about $2,900. And then let's just say you're getting 2.5% as your buyer's agent fee, $7,500. So what you're doing is you're handing out to them and saying, well, you could go rent or stay renting, and it costs you 1 month's rent, security deposit. It's going to cost you $6,000. Or you can go through the 3 buckets of cash, and the down payment is bucket number 1. The down payment is 3.5% of 300,000 is 10,005. Well, who pays it? Well, first off, you got $10,000 from IDA, so you use $7,500 because under the IDA program, they must come up with 1% of their own money. And you can put that into the earnest money in the offer if you like. So they're going to come up with $3,000 of their own funds, and then IDA is going to come up with the other $7,500. The total is $10,500. They got all the money. Put a check mark. We got all the money for bucket number 1. Bucket number 2, closing costs. Closing costs are the $5,500 for the average, typical, ordinary closing costs. You got the 1% origination fee, and you got the buyer's agent fee. When you add those up, it's $15,910. And so how are we going to pay for that? Well, once again, we only use $7,500 here of the $10,000 in the IDA program. So we still got $2,500 left over. We can ask, the seller to pay the $7,500. And the reason I say that we're going to be asking that, many of the buyer's agents will know that. From what I've been told, and again, you guys know more than I do, that about 77% of the sellers are still paying the buyer's agent fee. It's not in their MLS agreement, but they can put it into the notes that the seller is offering to pay the buyer's agent fee. And from what I hear, 77% of them are doing it at this point. So again, the seller can pay the buyer's agent fee, or realtors can negotiate. And again, let's assume that they do pay the buyer's agent fee. That leaves $5,910 that the borrower has to come up with to meet all these closing costs. Last but not least, bucket number 3 is what they call prepaid interest and escrows. And because in the state of Illinois, we pay taxes, real estate taxes, in arrears, which means we're a year behind. In the year 2024, we're paying 2023 taxes. So if you have a closing in July of 2024, that means that, we'd say it's July 31st. That means for 7 months in 2024, the seller lived there. So therefore, the seller is going to be giving the buyer, our client, 7 months of a real estate tax credit. The credit always exceeds what the lender wants for the buyer set up in the escrow. So this is zero out of pocket. Again, unless it's new construction. Again, we won't go there right now. But for the most part, for most real estate transactions, the real estate tax credit for real estate taxes exceeds what the lender wants to set up in the escrow. So let's add up the yellows. $3,000 is out of pocket for the down payment, $5,900 for closing costs, and zero for escrows. So they're coming up with $8,910. And again, I look at that and I compare it to what they would do if they rented with first month's rent and security deposit. And you know what? I got to believe that if you showed this to someone, they're going to say, I'm going to beg, borrow, find my best friends, my relatives, my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, my grandma, my grandpa, to get me another $2,900 in a gift so that I can make sure that I get into the housing market. So again, they might have this in savings above and beyond. Because again, if they move from where they're renting right now and don't buy, they have $6,000 sitting in the bank. They got a first month's rent and a security deposit. So they can use this $6,000 plus whatever else they have in savings to come up with this, or they can get gifts from blood relatives. So again, let's go back to our presentation. Again, I love the fact that it's co-branded. You guys get to do a little advertising with how to contact you. Again, now you've got a fourth document that you've put in their hands, and you haven't even talked compensation. But you know what? You look pretty doggone smart. You look like a great advisor. You look like someone I shouldn't walk away from, because the next agent may not have all this great information for me. So here's a reality check. Remind buyers that rent versus owning, what's the net worth buildup over the next 7 years? Is it better than the first month's rent and security deposit? Well, here, if you rent, you're not going to build up any additional equity. And again, people who buy real estate have 45 times more net worth than those that stay renters. So by just letting them know, and again, you don't have to, you can just let them know that if they bought a $280,000 purchase, 7 years down the road, they'd have $126,000 of built up equity that's money to them should they sell the house. And if they did a $300,000 purchase, they'd have a buildup of equity of another $135,000, which would turn into cash if and when they sell the house down the road. So what are your clients waiting for? What are you waiting for? Take some action. Now that you've reviewed how little cash is needed, what's your next step? Well, educate your prospects, educate your clients. What credit score is needed? Well, the credit score, is a 640 that's needed in order to go with the IDA program. So again, if your client doesn't have it, let them do credit repair with Tony. Maybe they want it analyzed. Maybe they want to get a better credit score. What down payment assistance is available? Educate them on your flyer. How little cash is needed for closing? Educate them on your Excel handout. Give them your co-branded flyers. And if necessary, if you get into a habit of holding monthly or every 2 months, holding homebuyer seminars with Tony via Zoom, invite them to future homebuyer seminars where they can learn more and more about the home buying process. So show them the numbers. Successful real estate advisors, not just agents, advisors, will complete the needs analysis form and share with the lender so they can get them pre-approved and pre-underwritten for a quick close within 16 to 20 days. You're going to review the real estate advisor will review each of the winning strategies and share with the lender which ones the buyer is interested in. The real estate advisor will give the buyer their flyer on the $10,000 of down payment assistance. The real estate advisor will give the buyer their Excel spreadsheet showing a purchase versus rent for as little as 1 to 3% of the purchase price. The real estate advisor will review the compensation scenarios with the buyer, which we're about to get into, and pass these conversations on to the lender. So now bring the compensation into conversation. Now that you look like the expert, the advisor, discuss your different scenarios before they fall in love with the home. Let them know that 77% of sellers are paying for their compensation. Let them know that they can put less down. Again, this is different ways that they can pay for the compensation, that they could put less down, save some of the money that they have in savings to pay for your fee. Let them know that, again, one of the strategies was they could gross up the purchase price such that then that giving the seller the incentive to pay the agent's buyer fee. They can also, another strategy, get the lender credit by raising the interest rate. If they're not doing an IDA loan, if they do a Fannie Mae, a Freddie Mac, a VA, if they raise up the interest rate, the lender can then provide them with a lender credit. The credit could then reduce the amount of cash that's needed for them to bring to closing, and they have more money then in savings to pay the agent's fee. They could use part of the $10,000 in down payment assistance. They could use the $7,500 to pay the whole thing if they wanted to go that route without having any repayment, because remember, the $7,500 is a zero interest loan with no payments for 30 years or until they sell the house. You could show them how to buy a home for as little as 1% to 3% of the purchase price. They could pay it out of pocket. And remember, we're going to talk about giving them another reason to do business with you, because they can cancel at any time if they don't like your services at no cost. So again, working in the statement, this is what it costs for my services. So be prepared for and address objections before asking them to sign. What if they just don't want to pay or finance your compensation? Well, if you don't want my compensation to come from your out-of-pocket, then would you prefer to look at homes that only include the buyer's commissions paid by the seller? Going back to option one, that the seller pays it. Again, remember, 77% of them do. But it will narrow the number of houses that they're going to look at, because not all sellers are going to put into the MLS that they're willing to pay the buyer's agent fee. Remember to use a guaranteed cancellation to reduce the risk. Make the buyers feel good that they have nothing to lose by working with you. If they're not happy with your service, you're giving them a cancellation agreement that says, if I don't perform, if I don't give you what you're looking for, if I don't build success into our relationship, you can cancel this with no hassle from me. So who pays? Based upon my uniqueness and commitment to help make you a homeowner, let's review again who pays for my services. 77% of the sellers pay. You could put less down and give funds to pay for my fee and have more funds to pay for my fee. We can gross up the purchase price to give the seller incentive to pay. We can get a lender credit. We can use part of the down payment assistance. We can pay for it out of pocket. And remember, I have a guaranteed cancellation agreement. One of the things that, some of our takeaways here, and again, one of the things that I want to bring up is I took the liberty, I want to bring this up. I took the liberty of putting another sheet for you guys as a handout. Here it is. I put this together. Again, wouldn't this be nice if Ronaldo Ruiz had this as a handout? This is what it costs for my services. This is what I do. This is what it's worth as your buyer's agent. And again, I'll scroll down to the bottom. This handout can be used with or without dollar amounts. But again, you might want to, the most vanilla approach would be, don't put any dollar amounts in here. And again, these are for example only. I was valuing you guys at about $200 an hour. So he said, consultation to get to know you and fill out a needs analysis. I provide that free of charge. I also work with my team to get you pre-approved and pre-underwritten for a quick close, free of charge. I work with you and my team to get your credit rescored if necessary, free of charge. I show you the down payment assistance programs to get you excited about buying, free of charge. I show you the small amount of money needed at closing to help build your confidence that you too can become a homeowner, free of charge. I search the MLS for homes that meet your needs analysis. It's an ongoing thing. I'm constantly combing. I'm constantly looking. I put filters out there so that we can capture any existing or new homes that come to market. And for my time, it's worth at least $2,000. And I go to home tours with you to point out the good and the bad about the homes that you're walking through. That's another $2,000. I carefully fill in the offer to purchase based on the winning strategies you selected. Again, remember all your winning strategies? They're going to select the ones that they would like after you've described how each of the strategies works. And you're going to carefully fill out the offer to purchase, well worth $500. You're then going to present their offer and negotiate with the seller. This can take many hours and back and forths and counter offers, well worth $1,000. You're going to provide a referral to a real estate attorney, well worth $250. You're going to provide a referral to an insurance agent, well worth $250. You're going to provide referrals to a home inspector, radon inspector, roof inspector, and more inspectors, depending upon the needs of the house. And you're going to provide access to the house for the home inspector, for the radon inspector, well worth $500. You're going to meet the appraiser and provide access to the house, $250. You're going to communicate with the lender on your team, to Tony Marino, on loan status. You'll want to make sure that things are going well. And if is there anything you as the real estate advisor, you already have a relationship with the buyer. Maybe that they're being slow. Tony says, hey, I really need to get their updated bank statement, or I need an updated pay stub. That's the stuff that you can help by being involved in the communication process. You're going to help contest the appraisal if necessary. The appraisal comes in $10,000 less than purchase price. You look at it, you determine, oh my God, these comparables are terrible. I see other comparables that are much better. Well, you're going to get involved in that, and it's well worth your time for $250. You're going to get involved to help you and the lender clear any loan conditions to get you a clear to close. So again, you're going to help your customer, and you're going to help the lender clear any conditions. Because again, the first step when it comes out of underwriting, it's got conditional approval, conditioned upon the following items that need to be presented in order to get a clear to close. And you can get involved with that with your customer, well worth your time, well worth at least $500. And you're going to attend the closing. They want you at the closing. You're their dear friend. You're their life support. Well worth $500. And last but not least, you're going to recommend a handyman, a cleaning lady, and any other services that they might need, well worth $250. Again, this adds up well over $7,000, $8,000, $9,000. But again, what you're going to end up doing is letting them know, I think I've demonstrated what I do in order to get you to the finish line. I think I've demonstrated to you that I'm a great real estate advisor. And that's going to get down to then your fee. Let me go back to the PowerPoint.
Wow, I need to have Ronaldo's phone number. He's a great realtor.
he is a great realtor. So again, when you come out with your compensation agreement, it's going to either be a percentage. You can say I've demonstrated that I'm worth 2.5%. You can say I'm working for a flat fee, whatever that number is, 7,500, 5,000, whatever the number is. You can say that I'm working at a rate per hour. I'm working at $200 per hour as a real estate professional. Or you can tell them pick and choose off of the menu, a la carte. Pick which services you want me involved in, and I can put a price on those. So again, go back to that sheet that I gave you that Ronaldo can hand out and say, this is what I do for you as a buyer's agent. You can put your numbers in there as to what you think you're worth. You can leave it blank and then just talk about why you're worth 2.5%, why you're worth 2%, why you're worth 7,500, why you're worth $200 an hour. This is all so new, but this is, again, you have to be selling yourself. You no longer can just say, hey, let me take you out and let's go look at homes. You need to build up, and the last part of your conversation is, and this is what I'm worth. I think I've demonstrated to you through needs analysis, through strategies, I through down payment assistance, through how little cash is needed at closing, through the ability to get you pre-approved for a quick closing. You're demonstrating that you can get up to $10,000 in down payment assistance. This is all very good information to pass on to buyers before you start talking compensation. Let them find out that you are just fantastic. So, our takeaways today: present yourself as a real estate advisor, present your needs analysis worksheet, present your strategies to win the offer as a handout, present your $10,000 down payment assistance flyer, present how to buy a home for as little as 1 to 3% flyer, show your buyers what I do as a buyer's agent, the handout with or without numbers in it, and then discuss compensation to the percentage. If you're working as a rate per hour, if you're working as a flat fee, as you're working as a la carte off my menu. And then once they've agreed that that's your compensation, then go through who pays. Go back to your strategies. Are they paying? Is the seller paying? Are they only interested in those that seller pays? Are they willing to have you gross up the offer so that the seller has an incentive to pay the fee? Do they want to get down payment assistance to help pay for the fee? All sorts of reasons. You know, if you give them $7,500 at no interest and they don't have to pay it back for 30 years, well, they just might like that money to help pay for your fee. So with that, any questions, comments, suggestions? I know that Ben Rosales said he wants to get a hold of Ronaldo because he thinks he's a great agent. So has anybody else got comments, questions, suggestions as we navigate this new world post NAR?
Yes, Glenn, I have a question. This is a marvelous presentation, man. My goodness, this is outstanding from disadvantage from all the other agents that they don't know how much they could get from Guild Mortgage and the Marino team. And my question is, can this be posted on social media site like for sale Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or LinkedIn as the quarter that I present what my service will be?
I don't see why you can't, because again, you guys know NAR's rules and regulations, but for you, you could easily take, that's a one-page handout. You can take your phone camera, take a picture of it, and upload it into Facebook, into X or Twitter, into LinkedIn, and let people know this is what I do. And again, absolutely. I mean, you want to shout out your services. You want people to come to you. So if you're good at social media, shout it out. You can take each part of this and do the needs analysis form as a post 1 week, and ask people to click a link or to call you or to email you to get a copy of the form so that they can fill it out and send it back to you. The next week you could do the winning strategies. In order that interest rates are dropping. Post could be interest rates are dropping. More buyers are coming to market. You need a real estate advisor, not just an agent. Let's talk about these strategies. And you could, again, the strategies are on one page. You could take a picture of it, upload it into Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, you name it, Instagram. These are all places where you should be putting this stuff and say, contact me at this phone number, at this email address, and let's get started on you toward home ownership. You can do the same thing with your flyer about the $10,000. It's a one-pager. Take a picture of it, upload it into Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, and get going. So yeah, all of this stuff can and should be in your social media posts, letting people know that you're the real estate advisor. You're no longer just an agent, and that you've got tons of resources that, why choose anybody else but me? Because I'm going to help get you there over the finish line. I've got all sorts of resources to get you there.
Thank you so much. Great answer. I'm glad that I'm here. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments? Any other suggestions? Any other questions? If not, you guys have been a great audience. Once again, I ask that you make sure that you get a hold of Tony. If you're looking for any of these flyers to be co-branded with your picture, with your contact information, you got to contact Tony Marino at Guild Mortgage, 847-804-1059. And you can also contact him via email, tony.marino@guildmortgage.net. Get all of these handouts co-branded in your name, such that then you can get started on marketing yourself as a real estate advisor. Thanks so much for being here today. I appreciate every one of you. Have a great rest of your day.